Growing up, I was always a model maker. I would take all my different models, especially my car models, and I would kit bash them. I would take parts from different models and create the car I thought was kind of cooler than any of the other cars you actually got in the model. When I was 17, one of my father's friends asked me if I would build a dollhouse for their daughter for Christmas. And I did. I built that first dollhouse, and from that point on I was very interested in miniatures as a whole. I would always do custom work, and I would always do projects for friends and family, and you know, it's not like you opened your door and you had a lot of business, but over the years I've actually grown to have pretty much a client base that is pretty much worldwide. I've lately have gotten involved in doing these miniature paintings, and what they are is they're real oil paintings only in miniature. The painting has to look like an antique itself, like it was done in the 18th century. One of them, I call it the Vermont Autumn, which was the one I showed you with the fall colors and everything in it. That took me like a couple of weeks because I kept having to sand it down. It was never looking just right until I finally finished it. You know, even though it's small, it's still a real painting. You know, and it still took the same amount of time. You know, so even, I suppose if somebody takes a couple of weeks to paint a full-size, life-size painting, well, it took me a couple of weeks to paint that one too, so it didn't matter that it was only 2 inches by 3 inches. If you look at the shingles on that house and things like that, now each one of those has to be put on individually. You know, so it takes 4 or 5 hours to shingle the roof. It's a basic house. It's like a $1,200 house, but it's going to be finished inside and out. I walked into like an antique store one day and I saw this really nice cut crystal necklace, but I didn't look at it and say, oh wow, that's a really nice necklace. And I looked at it and said, whoa, wow, that'd make a really nice chandelier in a miniature room box. So I guess it depends on how you look at things. A lot of things in real life can be used in miniature, but not for the purposes they were intended. My only downfall in architecture was I always wanted to make the structures that were, you know, no one could ever build them. Yeah. I used to get really high marks for like design and theory, but practicality was not one of my strong suits. They were like, well, you know, this is really cool and everything, but you realize it could never be built. And I'd be, well, yeah, I know that. One of the reasons I like the miniatures so much is because, yeah, you don't have to be practical with the miniatures and everything. What, you know, outrageous, impossible? Sure, no problem.